So last night I baked some cinnamon rolls and now I feel like I'm gonna puke. I think it's like acid reflux that I'm feeling. Anyway, so I'm gonna get to cooking something healthy right now. The other day I went out and cut up some kale from the garden. I have a lot of like Tuscan kale. I have some winter boar kale that I cut up too. And then I also have this huge red Russian kale that I just like took some leaves off of. I've had this in the fridge for a little while. And my fridge, there's something wrong with it. It keeps freezing food that's in there. Yeah, my celery that I'm using for this recipe, it got frozen and now it's looking bad. I think it's fine when it's all gonna be cooked anyways. Some of my kale looks like parts of it froze and then thawed out. I just took it out of the fridge. But kale is very like cold hardy, so they're fine. Most of it is fine. I think I'm really only gonna be using the Tuscan kale. I don't know how much exactly to use. The recipe calls for 1 large bunch or 1 large bushel, and I have no idea what that means. Like, why can't they give an amount? It says like around 1 pound, but I have no idea what that is either. So I'm just gonna eyeball it, and probably I'm gonna try to put more than I need to just because we have a lot of kale and this is a great way to use it up. I'm excited to make this. It's a Tuscan Kale Soup recipe that I'm using. It'll be good to eat something healthy after, like the only thing I've eaten today is that cinnamon roll. Okay, I'm just gonna get to work like prepping these ingredients. I need a medium onion, 2 medium stalks of celery, 2 medium carrots, all to be chopped up. So I'm gonna get that done. I'm gonna figure out how much of this Tuscan kale I wanna use, what in my opinion would be like close to 1 large bunch. I don't know, I'm trying to think back to if I've ever seen a bunch at the farmer's market or at the supermarket. And try and replicate that. I think I have seen some at the farmer's market, so I'm just gonna try and do that amount and probably more. I'm gonna try to use up all of the Tuscan kale, but if I have too much, I'll maybe leave some out. Oh, and something I always do when I am using like vegetables from the garden, or if it's just a recipe that have a lot of vegetables, I always have like a bowl that I put my scraps into. Like, for example, when I'm peeling carrots, onions, when I'm like chopping off the ends of certain vegetables. And this will all go in the compost. I don't keep my normal, like I have a little bin of compost just outside the door, but to stop from like keep walking back and forth, I just have a bowl on the countertop and then, you know, it'll all get moved eventually. Okay, the recipe at some point calls for red pepper flakes. I don't really have any. I actually only have like the Korean pepper powder, which is, if you know anything about Korean food, extremely spicy. So I don't know if I'm gonna put that in because Brendan is also gonna be eating this and he's not into that much like spice or like, you know, that hot spice. So I have some super red, very tiny little shishito plants, which they're a little bit spicy. I don't know if they're supposed to be that way or if it's just because I've grown them around jalapenos, like my jalapeno plants, and they get maybe cross-pollinated, but I'm just gonna chop some of these up and use that instead. And please don't judge me for the way that I cut anything because I don't really do this often. In fact, I don't even know why I'm recording it because I'm terrified of watching people cut vegetables. Like, I just get so scared they're gonna cut themselves, and I just keep imagining it maybe happening or that it will happen, and it just like creeps me out so much that I can't watch it. But yeah, here I am. I don't know how I can like watch myself do it. I still get scared, but it's not as bad as like watching other people do it for some reason. And so I don't really know, because I don't watch people do it, I don't know the proper technique. I think I just kind of vaguely remember the way that I've seen my mom cut vegetables. But I don't even know if I remember it properly, so I might not be doing it correctly. And if my vegetables are like a little bit too big, that's fine with me. Okay, those onions really got to me. Also, I'm sorry to my future self editing this, having to watch myself cut it. Oh my gosh. I mean, at least they'll know I didn't cut myself. I'm fine, but it still will probably be difficult watching it. Okay. So next up is I'm gonna saute all of these in some olive oil in this pot. So I'm just gonna put olive oil, heat it up, add the veggies, saute them for like 5 minutes, add some garlic and saute it for another couple of minutes, I think, another minute, before I start putting in the broth. Okay, I added the olive oil, put it on medium heat, and for me to tell when the oil is hot enough to add everything else, I just like kind of swirl it around in the pan, and you can kind of like get a sense of the like viscosity of like the thickness of it. And when it feels like more liquid and more fluid, then it's hotter. So then I added all the diced vegetables. I let it sweat, stirring often for about 5 minutes, added some minced garlic. I do have garlic from the garden, but they're really small and I haven't like taken them out or cleaned it yet. So I just have like the store-bought kind. And I let that cook with the vegetables for another minute until it got fragrant. Before I added, I think 4 cups of vegetable broth and then 2 cans of cannellini beans, like washed and rinsed. Maybe I didn't rinse it fully because I forgot to open them and prep it beforehand. So I was just all doing this while all the vegetables were still on. And then I put in some, it's like a tablespoon of dried thyme. And I actually have a dried thyme plant. I have this very sad looking thyme plant that I dried out a long time ago. It was inside, so it just dried out when I, of course, inevitably forgot to water it. Anyway, I just like pulled off the top. It still counts, right? And then now I'm letting it simmer there on the stove for about 20 minutes. In that time, I am gonna go ahead and prepare the kale. I need, as I said, 1 large bunch of Tuscan kale, roughly chopped. So let's see what a bunch is. When I cut it, I kind of just like cut off the whole top. So let me like pull the leaves off. Okay, what do you think? Is this one large bunch of kale, of Tuscan kale? I have this extra. It's another top of a plant that I cut off. And honestly, you know what? I'm just gonna use it. All right, so I'm just gonna roughly chop these. Oh, you know what else I could have done? I could have taken out the big parts of the stem. They're not like so big. But it might be nicer for the texture of the soup to not have these large chunks. So I'm just actually going to remove the pieces that seem to be mostly that big stem. Okay, so I pulled some of the big stems out, and then I noticed as I saw a little bug crawling out of these leaves that I forgot to wash them after I harvested them. So I went ahead and did that pretty thoroughly. I mean, Brendan would just say that it's more protein if he found out that I didn't wash them before I put them in the soup. Actually, a better way to wash them, rather than just like having water flow through in a strainer like this, is to get like a solid bowl and fill it up with water, and that way all of the maybe bugs will just like rise to the surface, or all the smaller debris if you kind of like shake it around in that like big bowl of water. I didn't do that, so honestly maybe there are bugs, and I guess more protein more protein for us. This is by the way, a vegetarian dish. I mean, maybe not if there's accidentally a few bugs in there. I don't think there will be. Okay, it's just a joke, but maybe. So maybe like not fully. But yeah, I'm just gonna, I guess, wait a few more minutes, like 4 more minutes, and then the recipe says to blend about 1/3 of it, or like, you know, using either an emulsion blender or a big blender. All I have is this like magic bullet blender. Whoops. So I can do this much at a time. I might just do like a few of these, and then I am gonna put it back like on heat, and then I guess just like add in the kale. Cook it for about 10 more minutes until all the vegetables are like soft and tender, including the kale. And then at the end, I can add lemon juice, salt, and pepper to taste. So I'm just gonna get to like ladling this and blending it. All the vegetables should be like pretty soft right now, so I think it's just gonna be really quick. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, it looks pretty gross when it's all blended up. Maybe it's because, you know, only I just like added a tiny bit of blended like vegetables and soup to it, like back into the pot, but it like kind of looks like vomit, you know? Ouch. It's just that it's hot. Here, let me show you what it looks like now. I think I'm not gonna blend anymore. It looks about fine. And then I'll just add in the kale and let it cook for another 10 minutes. Okay, I poured myself a bowl. It smells amazing. One thing I will say, like just looking at it, I think maybe I did put a little too much kale. And I think I could have definitely chopped it up into smaller pieces. Actually, I can smell the kale. Kale has a very leafy, kind of grassy almost smell and taste to it. And I'm not the biggest fan of kale. I love how well it grows here in Alaska, so I like growing it. And I do want to just like keep trying to find new ways to eat it. I have a bunch more kale. I have a lot of red Russian kale. I have winter boar kale. I might try kale chips out of it. I don't know. Brendan doesn't like kale either. I am trying to look for ways that I can eat more vegetables, put more vegetables in my diet. I'm honestly really bad at it. I like hate that as I get older, I think I'm getting more and more picky with food and like more and more stuck in my ways when it comes to like what I like to eat on a daily basis. I'm pretty adventurous with food, like especially when I'm out, but when it comes to, okay, what do I want to eat for dinner tonight? I like kind of the same things. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and try this. Let me get some kale, let me get some beans. Sorry if it's gross, I have to definitely chew on the kale. It's soft, but it's still like a big piece. It's pretty yummy. I like soups, so this is good. Again, I do wish the kale was a bit smaller. That's my bad. But I think it tastes great. It tastes like a great vegetable soup. Yeah, actually, I'm really like pleased with that. And I like the texture of the kale. I used to have a lot of soups growing up. Like my mom would make soups, and a lot of the soups, like I think they, like we have like seaweed soup and that tastes really good. And there's this Arabic soup called mulahiyya. I don't know exactly what plant it is, but it's like a big leafy kind of soup. And I really like that kind of thing. So I really like this soup. Yeah, definitely gonna be something that I make again. Do you want to try? I made the kale soup.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh. Here.
Yes, please.
Wait, let me put the camera up. Sorry, it's still hot. You like it?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Oh, it's perfect. It's raining outside.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's so cold out now. So now is great soup weather.
I'm taking this.
Oh, he said he's taking this, if you didn't hear. If you didn't catch that. Okay, great. We both like it. And kale, yeah, again, grows so easily here, so make it again for sure. Did you have the cinnamon rolls?
Mm-hmm. Very good.
They gave me acid reflux today, so
Yeah.
I felt like I was gonna vomit.
Maybe me too. But they tasted good.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all for this video. We're gonna eat dinner, just relax. In an upcoming video, I'm gonna show you what I do now with some of those raised beds that had kale in it. I've got some tulips that I wanna plant out. I've got more just like, you know, end of the season kind of chores to do for the flower garden especially. I've got anemones I still need to pull up, dahlia tubers, and then we have the rest of the greenhouse. So we've done a bunch of work on that since our first video, and maybe one of the next videos is gonna be like part 2 of our greenhouse renovation. It's coming along really nicely. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.